The veterans of Australia included 20,000 horses. Our Australian stock horses, the cow ponies from the ranches of New South Wales, my state, were taken on a hell journey across the sea to war. This is my story, but it's based on historical fact. I call it Rosie. We grew up together, Mary Jacoby and me, as opposite as chalk and cheese, but close as close could be. She was motherly and caring from the day that she was born. She played house and nursed her dollies while I rode from dusk till dawn. Mary did the household chores. She was always Mum's right arm while I headed for the horses with Dad out on the farm. And our horses were the best around. On stations far and wide, a Jacoby horse was the envy of any who would ride. They could chase a beast or jump a log and carry quite a load, and pull a cart on Sundays down the winding churchyard road. They could live on next to nothing. They were strong and fleet and fine. And when I came of age, the gift was one I knew was mine. A scrawny, feeble filly by our legend colt, the Lair. And she grew into a corker, did my Rosie, chestnut mare. We won at picnic races and we worked and pulled our share. It was always me and Rosie. No fellow could compare. Now, Mary married early, had a baby right away, the only one she'd ever have, wish as though she may. And Billy was a bonny lad, adventurous and free, and he filled her waking moments, as the horses did for me. So life went on and Billy worked the land and rode the fences. But far away, a rumbling grew, Australia called defences. There were good times when the government bought our horses by the score, and bad times when it hit us that the world was now at war. But the bleakest day was yet to come. Billy left to fight the foe and Mary held him dearly, but she knew he had to go. She gave her country all she had and smiled through her distress. I reached into my heart and wondered, how could I give less? For Billy to have half a chance, the best horse he must ride. I quelled the tremor in my voice and held my head with pride. Then I looked up to heaven and I said a little prayer, and I walked down to the slip rails to farewell my chestnut mare. I watched those liquid amber eyes as livestock crates pulled out. The chance that she'd return to me was slim, there was no doubt. She would travel half across the world to only God knew where. I was sending her to hell, I knew, my precious chestnut mare. I fought the telltale tears from falling down my dusty face and wished with all my heart and soul that I was in her place. We waited at the letterbox, Mary, Mum and me, peering down that long dirt road. It seemed eternity. At last, a letter came, addressed in Billy's special hand, and from the creases trickled just a trace of desert sand. Dear Mother, we're in Egypt, having lovely weather. Me and Rosie, tell Aunt Sarah, we stick like glue together. She's the best horse here, a cracker. Mary Pickford, wrapped in fur. She's looking after me, and Struth, I'm looking after her. Now you may not get a letter for a while, but don't you fret. With Rosie for a partner, I'll be home, a certain bet. Well, each day we'd wait for mail and then our hopes would disappear. The months and endless months dragged on. We lived in constant fear. Till finally, the next one came. Oh, thank God he wasn't dead. But we worried what he'd been through, and we opened it with dread. I'm all right. So don't you worry, we'll soon be on the go, but I had to write and tell you, there are things you ought to know. I had to make a dreadful choice. I put it off so long. I hope you'll understand. Won't be thinking I was wrong. We were out there in the desert, and things were pretty bad. Me and Rose were mighty thirsty, and we'd shared the bit we had. Oh, those Turks were fearsome fighters. Things weren't going like they oughta, and the battle soon became a desperate fight for precious water. There's this place they call Beersheba. There's all these sunken wells, and if Johnny Turk could hold it, he'd be ringing victory bells. Oh, the Poms had had a mighty try to oust the bloody foe, but failed, and it was up to us. We said we'd have a go. A mounted charge was crazy, but we reckoned we could do it. The Turks entrenched with rifles, and we had to ride right through it. We light horse rode the path of British dead and took off for Beersheba, bullets whizzing overhead. One final trench to jump, and all the horses smelled the water and quickened pace and galloped on amidst the blood and slaughter. She leapt. A Turkish bayonet slashed across her heaving flanks, but Rosie galloped bravely on midst ever-thinning ranks. With pounding heart and hope anew, the surge that victory spells, we lurched across the final stretch and took Beersheba's wells. Then we headed back to Cairo to recuperate and wait and speculate on what we thought would be departure date. They told us when we got there, on that dreary, dreadful day, the words still echo in my ears. The mounts will have to stay. We haven't got the finances to bring the horses back. You'll have to say farewell, lads, when you gather up your pack. 1,000 scorn of horses, Mum. Just one to be returned. Dear God, it should be Rosie. Surely that much she has earned. I didn't want to do it, but they ordered us to go, and Rosie's wounds were festered, for the healing here is slow. I couldn't let her suffer and leave her to her fate. The future for her here is grim, and she's my closest mate. I looked into those amber eyes, and she told me that she knew. So I did the only kindest thing a fellow here could do. We waited at the railway station for the boys, the trains to bring the boys back to the farms, and I watched a weary hero fall into his mother's arms. And though my heart was torn apart, I knew the battle won, for there is no greater gift to give a mother than her son. And though I felt the sun would never shine again for me, 'cause Rosie stayed, my debt was paid, my spirit now was free. And I know we'll meet again someday in heaven, way up there, and I'll be riding silver clouds on the bravest chestnut mare.